You seem to have submitted the proposal that Mr. Orban could leave the room for a decision to be possible. Did you talk to him about this beforehand? And a second question, is that a good working method for the European Union? Are we going to see this happen more often? Will other countries also brandish a veto in order to open up opportunities for themselves? Or are we already talking of a Europe of two speeds here? We call ourselves the European Union. We are the European Union. We all are obliged to act in the spirit of a European Union and to assist one another with the aim of seeing that Europe advances. We will not be successful in attending to that with everyone being in total agreement with everyone. Sometimes we have different positions and nevertheless want to reach a common position after lengthy negotiations. Time and again we think about how we can ensure that the whole process does not get bogged down in the fact that the approval is tied to unanimous agreement. And this is why I submitted the proposal that the 26 member states can actively advance and drive ahead this process and are not being prevented from doing so by one member of the European Union. So in the spirit of showing a behavior that is friendly towards the European Union, and it is in that spirit that I suggested to the Hungarian Prime Minister that he was to allow us to take that decision in his absence. He gave it some consideration. I asked him to take all the time he needed, but he reacted spontaneously and said that he would take up that proposal, that he wanted to take up that proposal, and we then took the decision, the 26th. That is. It is a decision that we have taken unanimously in line with our rules. You have that in a number of democratic processes where you assist each other, where you say, I don't agree, but I don't want you to stop. I want to stop you from moving ahead. And we suggested that approach to the Hungarian Prime Minister, and he then considered that a possible approach that he could live with. This is not something that we should practice each and every time. You know, as I said, in the majority of cases, we take decisions together and reach some compromise and a common position at the end of the day. It's not something that drops out of heaven, you know, comes over us like the Holy Spirit, but we have to work for these outcomes and these agreements. It's possible. We've seen this. We've seen this in the negotiations amongst the German government parties on the new budget. We have succeeded in doing so here amongst the member states of the European Union to reach that agreement on the multi-annual financial framework, to agree on a budget policy for the next few years that also reflects that we don't have funds that are endless, that can... and that, I think, is what we mean when we speak about the readiness to engage in compromises and to work to achieve a consensus. The many negotiations, the many nights I've spent negotiating in different groups of people have had that outcome. So I am confident that we will continue to pursue that approach. Laura Dubois, Financial Times, 2 questions. Why couldn't Prime Minister Orban just leave the room with regard to the MFR? And a second question, if you have not been able to agree to the multi-annual financial framework, have you been able to take a closer look at the frozen assets, Russian assets in Europe? Well, we expect to get a decision on the revision of the multi-annual financial framework. We do have a budget. I hasten to make that point. We do have a financial framework. Again, we're following tradition. We have this midterm review. See whether we have to adjust here or there, or to adapt, to reorient, or reprioritize. And this is something we've done ever since the first multi-annual financial framework was agreed for the European Union. And time, you need time to allow for these review processes. Very often we are talking very long negotiations. You may remember the meetings we had that were put off, went on into the weekend. So the good news here and now is that we have a draft text to which 26 member states of the European Union have agreed. And it was the 27 member that wasn't all that opposed to that text or agreement, with regard to all the individual details. So we've made quite remarkable progress. And there's one issue that is outstanding, but it will be dealt with and attended to. And if we don't succeed and haven't succeeded in doing this year now, we will do it at an extraordinary meeting. So we shouldn't depart from the assumption that what we do, if we don't succeed, it will succeed. Our approach should be that we proceed in that spirit. But of course, you cannot solve issues like this every time by asking the respective country to stay outside the meeting room or go outside.